My family is originally from Yemen, where they lived for over 2,000 years. And close to 100 years ago, they moved to Israel. My memories always of going to Israel, first thing I would do is run to visit my grandma, to stay with my grandma, my Savta, in Ramat Gan, near Tel Aviv, and run to the Makola, which is the marketplace. I thought that they would just give everything for free, but they were running a tab. I had no idea that she pays for it after. I was like, oh, they must love her like I love her and just give her whatever she wants. So I always get these candies and everything. I have these memories when I lived in Israel and I was learning, and I would stay for Shabbat at my Savta, my grandmother, and I'd be singing with my friends on Shabbat these songs, and she'd be on the couch crying. And I realized for her, our desire for all these thousands of years to return to our homeland had been realized in her lifetime. And it was probably so impactful, inspiring, and emotional for her. In this chapter, in this Torah portion called Ki Tavo, I call this chapter first fruit, which ties to the Bikurim, the first fruit that we're commanded to give. And the idea is that our receiving the land of Israel is mentioned several times, and tying it to keeping the mitzvot, to keeping the commandments which keep us in alignment. Mark Twain has this famous observation of the Jews as the eternal people, and he questions how could it be, and he writes, if the statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1/4% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly be heard of, but he is heard of. He's always been heard of. He is as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world's list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine are all very out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world in all ages and has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. The Egyptians, the Babylonians, and the Persians rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to the dream stuff and passed away. The Greeks and Romans followed and made a vast noise, and they were gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burnt out, and they sit in the twilight now and have vanished. The Jew saw them all, survived them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakness of his part, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert but aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jews. All other forces pass, but he remains. What's the secret of his immortality? So this Torah portion answers the question of the immortality of the people of Israel with the answer, mortality and the culture of ethics, the mitzvot that these commandments establish. Jews revealed a truth in a world where it was so hidden. They brought monotheism and morality, and they became revelations. All of the major religions stem from the Torah, from receiving the Torah, from Moses at Sinai, from Hashem. We learn that in other Parashiot, it's the same thing, that for us to conquer our land, for us to receive the land that is already there for us, to possess it, we have to align with our Creator, with our source, and we're outlined with how we do this. And a lot of it also is moving away from that which keeps us disconnected, from fear, doubts. We need to conquer the land so we could settle it. And I write at the end of the chapter, the same way we need to conquer and settle the physical promised land, we need to do the same in our own struggle within our spiritual selves, making sure that we don't doubt ourselves to the point of blocking our own blessings. And as Jay-Z says on Welcome to the Jungle, where did I go? I'm losing myself. I'm stuck in the moment. I look in the mirror, my only opponent. So I pray that we can continuously push away the fear and that which blocks us from alignment and from connecting to the source, to the infinite light, and realize that at any moment we can move away from that which disconnects us to full alignment through full faith and trust that everything is happening for a reason and that ultimately everything will be good. And I was just learning in Likutei Moharan, Esai enai el ha'arim ma'ayin yavo ezri, which is I set my eyes toward the mountains, meaning look and focus on what is ultimately going to be in the future with full faith and not what is right before you and get scared and fall out of alignment. Realize that ultimately it will be for the good. And the me'ayin yavo ezri, which ayin is like this bitul, which is this nullification, this self-nullification. Through that nullification and through the trust that everything will be good, that's where the help is going to come from. That's where the salvation is going to come from. And everything will ultimately be good. Because when we bring our own judgments from fear, doubts, and don't have full faith, that's when things fall apart. Shabbat Shalom. Here's to staying aligned, fulfilled, and connecting to the Most High.